Well, hello. So, I reviewed Rings of Power episode 4, the all-time new low for this show. And there was a scene that not only made me laugh hysterically, but it made me realise that they have no clue what they're doing or what they're writing. Here is that scene, edited because of YouTube copyright.
Elf ships on our shore. Elf workers taking your trades. Workers who don't sleep, don't tire, don't age.
Not only does that seem completely misrepresentative of the relationship between the Númenóreans and the elves, it also brings in a very weird modern political thing that really isn't in Tolkien's work. Injecting modern politics into this stuff is not only tragic, it's lazy, it's bad, and you know what I found even funnier about the whole series? And this is the thing, like, watching that scene, they're all white guys. It's funny that, isn't it? But this series, like, seriously, what are they doing here? Amazon are basically lying to everyone. They're not revealing the details. The creators are complete hacks. And this scene is the embodiment of everything wrong with this show. In every level. You know, from the rewriting of Galadriel to be a character she never was, to the representation of Númenor, to the story structure, to the timeline, to key events in a series where nothing is happening that can't find its story. This is the embodiment of it. If you know Lord of the Rings, if you know Tolkien, you know the relationship between Númenor and the elves. And this ain't it in the slightest. And it's almost comical at this point, but I did burst out laughing, and I wanted to save this for a video on itself, because it is the epitome of all the problems here. The characterization is wrong, the events are wrong, but the injection of modern woke politics into something that really isn't about that. The realms of Middle-earth have their own relationships and politics going on, and this is not it at all, in any way, shape or form. I mean, I'm trying not to burst out laughing or turn this video into a rant, for the very simple reason we'll be here forever. But read the appendices if you have it in front of you, and look at the elves, look at Númenor, look at the First Age. I mean, go on YouTube and look up some of the Silmarillion stuff, and just go on a deep dive into the relationship between them. This was not a thing. There was some dislike and distrust, but this ain't it, and it shows. And what I find funny is that when Peter Jackson made his movies, he intentionally kept his own opinions and the creative opinions, people's real-life opinions, out of Middle-earth, and they did their best for it. But this is about modernity, and in this context, modernity is a negative, and it shows. This is bad, lazy writing 101. And Amazon aren't admitting their failure right now, considering, like I've said many times, the Rings of Cringe is being outdone, outwritten, outperformed by the House of the Dragon. And it shouldn't be that way. Tolkien should set the standard for fantasy, should set that benchmark, and this is not setting a benchmark. This is setting painful, indifferent, horrible story, horrible acting, horrible everything. This show is content for a streaming service. It has no merit or creativity of its own. It purely exists for an Amazon Studios flex and ego. But also the fact that, you know, you have a creative team, you hire woke people, you have rumours of bad robot involved, you hire these people where it's not about the story, it's not about the characters, it's about the message. And the problem with that is, once you start full shoehorning a message into something and making it the focal point, ultimately it fails because everything else gets pushed aside. Like, the acting in this is terrible. Every decision they have made has been terrible. And sadly, this is going to get worse. And unlike the idiot in my comments the other day, I ain't gonna suck it up, buttercup. Honestly, this show is a derivative. That's the best word for this entire thing. It's derivative, and this scene shows how derivative it is. It's kind of sad at this point, and now with Amazon censoring reviews, even positive reviews are actually being removed now. There is a thing, even the positive stuff is being removed. So I don't know what they're doing or what algorithm they're using for reviews, but things like IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes and Amazon's own system and all of these places, especially on Critical, is not 100% representative of the actual opinion of this show. And all I'm going to say is there is better fantasy, better works to watch and read, and this is derivative content for a streaming service. It's sad that this has happened. And yeah, there has been some good things on Amazon. The Chris Pratt thing was brilliant. But, you know, you invest all this money into it, so apparently, which I don't believe they have, and you get something that reminds me of bad Xena Warrior Princess fanfiction. Like I said, derivative content, derivative everything. I'm amazed if this will get a season 2 at this point, because there is a get out clause to Amazon in that contract. And the fact that it's delayed anyway, it'll be interesting what happens next.